Hey everyone, it's your old pal Justin from the internet. I'm back here again with another Old Frame Highlander gameplay video. Today we are playing Goblins in the November 2025 Webcam League Finals. I played this deck to a 3-1 finish in the group stage, squeaking into the top 4 as the 4th seed, and won my semifinals opponent match, and was able to meet Tim here again, our old foe from the last video, in the finals. Tim will be on Blue-Black Control, sort of a similar but different build than his last time. I think he mentioned about 15 cards different. This is the deck I played. You can see obviously a lot of the all-star goblins from the Old Frame card pool are present here, including Goblin Recruiter, Siege Gang, Commander, Goblin Lackey, etc. We also had to fill out our deck with kind of a lot of old limited all-stars from years past. This deck has all goblins except for, I think, Flame Tongue Kavu, and backed up with some burn spells and removal spells in the form of burn, as well as a handful of cool spells like Coat of Arms, which actually becomes pretty relevant here. And of course, has some disruptive elements in the form of land destruction and specifically Wasteland, Strip Mine, and Rashad Import. So this deck ended up being pretty powerful. I was surprised at kind of how well it performed over the course of the league, and I'm excited to show it off here in the finals again. I'm going to be talking over the video because this recording didn't bring on any of our audio, unfortunately, so I'll try to recap kind of what I saw here in the matches here. So let's get into it. All right, here we are for game one. I believe I've won the die roll here, and as always, I've sped up this video, so if you see us moving quickly, it's because we're working at 2x speed. So I am on the play here for game one. I think both of us keep our 7s and are happy. So I'm going to lead things off here with the basic mountain, and I have a Seal of Fire, which I'm just going to kind of chill on. I remember from last round that, he did have some smaller evasive creatures, and I didn't want to just go face right away. So, play my Mishra's Factory. Still pretty strong in this format, despite the larger card pool. Still really relevant. So, Tim's just going to play a second land, and he has some counterspell magic up, although some of his options are limited because he does have a swamp there. But I think I take the approach of running out this Ruby. Playing a mountain, and I think I have a 3-drop here, which is pretty strong in the form of War Chief. Tim here, I think, correctly identifies that's pretty good, and he mana likes it. This ended up being really relevant because I actually have Siege Gang Commander in hand, so I could have played that next turn. Wish I had that Mox Ruby earlier. That probably would have been helpful, but Tim goes in, counters it. So Tim makes his land drop and just has the Chromatic Sphere there. I'm going to draw my card, hoping for a 5th land to try to run out that Siege Gang Commander. I think I get stuck here on 4 mana, so not able to play that. So instead I'm playing a Morph. This is the Goblin that when you morph it, it makes 1/1 Goblin tokens. Forget the name off the top of my head, but hoping to obviously flip that over next turn. Tim's going to go ahead and just smother that, just take care of it now. So nothing I can do about that. I think that's Warbeak something, and it goes to the bin. So here I'm just explaining the card. There's a lot of reading necessary here with these gobos. It's a pretty long tail here, so not surprised that maybe Tim's not as familiar with it. And I can't even remember the names, so that goes to show kind of how important these cards tend to be. Tim's going to go to his turn. So far this is a pretty slow start for the Goblin deck. Obviously, I'd like to do some damage here. I think Tim's taking a point of damage from his land there. He's going to play Familiar, which is pretty annoying because it definitely can be regenerated and kind of act as a blocker, which a lot of my creatures do not have built-in evasion. So pretty annoying, actually, for me. Not much I can do about that right now, so I'm going to take a look at my options. Like even Factory's kind of shut off right now because he can just kind of continue, block and regenerate. I do obviously have the Seal of Fire, so that can kind of help. But again, I want to be patient. Not sure that's really what I want to spend my removal spell on. So here I'm going to play Arms Dealer, which has actually been awesome this entire league. Kind of kind of meager as a 1/1 for 3, but the activated ability, 1 in a red, and sack a goblin, deal 4 damage to target creature is like super relevant. So here I'm reading the card to Tim. You know, this is one that you don't really typically see outside of limited, but weirdly pretty powerful in this deck, just with all the goblin synergies and even some of the sacrifice synergies that exist. Tim's going to go ahead and get in there and get kind of aggressive. So I'm taking a point of damage and plays this Faceless Butcher. She's obviously pretty strong. And again, can't do much about it here, so he's going to go ahead and exile my Arms Dealer. So again, clear board. Could pick off the Familiar, but choosing not to. And here I rip a Mountain, so I'm pretty happy because, again, I have the Siege Gang Commander in hand, and I'm just going to play that out right away. Make 3 Goblins. So here I'm starting to feel okay, but this Butcher is pretty strong. It's got 3 power, which is a little awkward with my setup here, even with the Siege Gang. Maybe I can trade it with a token and the Seal of Fire, get back my Arms Dealer and kind of work around that, but still not great attacks or anything yet, just with the board and how it looks currently. But we're chilling, you know. One of the things that I've learned playing this deck is like you kind of want to build up your board and kind of develop value and figure out how you're going to win. Here comes Psychotog, our old buddy from last round. Still strong, but again, kind of on defense, likely here for Tim. As we kind of as our boards kind of stare at each other for a little bit. And I'm trying to figure out how to kind of best maneuver around kind of what Tim's doing. And I rip a pretty good one here, which is Goblin Sharpshooter. So Tim does not have a counterspell for this, fortunately, and obviously this can be pretty strong, especially in conjunction with the Siege Gang. So I'm definitely thinking about how I can best kind of utilize this combo to kind of get rid of Tim's board. I think he's talking about how that's going to be kind of tough for him to overcome, but you know, here we are. So again, we're still kind of just staring at each other. It's a little awkward with just, you know, regeneration and the power and toughness of the cards. Psychotog's not a great hit for anything right now. And he's going to go ahead and repulse that Sharpshooter back to hand to kind of time walk me here, which I think is a pretty reasonable play to try to give himself some time to figure out what to do about that. You know, I can't really fault Tim for how he's played this so far. Obviously, he had a lot of answers early on, and now he's kind of trying to figure out what to do. But I think reasonably, you know, the 2 plays that he made were early on to counter the War Chief and then take care of my Morph. I think pretty reasonable, especially because I could get a lot of value with that Morph later on in the game. And, you know, I had the Siege Gang in hand, so I was kind of hoping to like build up that, you know, that Goblin Armly to really you know, go face and be able to just kind of burn him out here. But he hits me with Psychotog here. I think I'm weighing what to do here, and if I remember, I think I choose to block with a token there. Yep. And I'm just going to go ahead and go to face instead of letting combat damage happen. So we're at, what is that, 17 here currently. So kind of chipping away. But he does have the Bone Shredder, which I believe he drew that turn, and so Siege Gang is down, unfortunately. So I'm left with just 2 1/1s here. A lot of mana, but not much to do with it. And I admit I'm a little worried here. He still has 4 cards in hand. I think I'm getting a little low on resources myself, and some of my best threats are gone now. And I do have the Sharpshooter, which is good, but you know, not as good. So I'm going to test the waters here. I think I draw this Goblin Pile Driver, and then Goblin Sharpshooter comes back down. So kind of doing an okay job again of doing this. I'm actually thinking right now Pile Driver with its protection from blue is kind of a good counter to Psychotog, which I'm a little worried about just taking huge chunks out of my life. So Still just kind of posturing in a way that I'm kind of waiting and building up resources. I'm feeling good about maybe Pile Driver being able to wait to end this game if I can kind of get enough goblins on board and clear enough space to be able to actually attack in. And I think Tim's doing sort of similar math where he's trying to figure out how does he deal with the sharpshooter and so on. So again, can't really fault Tim for taking care of the siege gang. It's obviously really powerful and strong. Likely would have taken over this game on its own, but sharpshooter is also here to kind of muck with his day. So I'm just trying to be patient and kind of see what we can do here. Even though I'm ostensibly an aggressive deck, I think can't be throwing away resources. Got to kind of eke out as much value as I can with the cards I have, since I don't have much in the way of card draw here, unlike Tim, who has at least a little access to a little bit of card advantage with the cards he has. So he's going to go ahead and play Morph, which is pretty scary. Could be a lot of things, but not really sure what it could be. But we'll note that Tim's been stuck on 4 mana for a while here, and I think that's been a big constraint also to being able to deploy kind of the threats and strategy that he has. And so that was a big constraint here, I think, for him. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot down the familiar while I can. It's going to untap the sharpshooter. Then I'm going to Seal of Fire, targeting, I think, Butcher here, and also use a combo with the sharpshooter. Get back my arms dealer. And then from there, I think I decide to, again, play kind of safe here. Not really I don't exactly know what's going on in... oh, actually, now with the arms dealer, I have another sack outlet. So I'm going to go ahead and go face, bringing him to 10, using arms dealer to sack the token, take care of the creature there, which I think was a bounty hunter, maybe, if I'm recalling that correctly. And I think I miss, either we figure out that I could have pinged him a second time. Maybe I missed it this round with both creatures dying. I think I only pinged once, but could have probably gotten an extra point of damage there since 2 creatures died. But here, I think Tim is still searching for an answer here for this sharpshooter. He's got this Spectre, which is obviously pretty strong, but my hand's pretty pretty low as it is, and not super worried about it, but as a 2/2 flyer, obviously pretty good. And again, my board's pretty meager here. I mean, obviously sharpshooter's good, and I still have a token that I can kind of use as sacrifice fodder for the arms dealer, but I still don't really feel great, So I'm going to go to face here. I think I'm going to sack again, take care of Hypnotic Spectre. Here I realize that I actually have two pings I could get out of the deal, so bring him down to, what is that, 14? And we're just explaining that interaction here, I think, since I missed it last time. And then I'm going to play a 4-drop here, which is Goblin Ringleader. And look at the top 4, which is obviously pretty good, but here I'm going to see 3 lands and a Pyrokinesis, which is a whiff. So I'm going to put those on the bottom and have a 2/2 for 4 with haste, unfortunately. So we talk here about kind of the odds of that happening. And, I do have a lot of goblins in the deck, so like I said, only 1 non-goblin creature, and mostly creatures, I guess, other than lands, but whiff there, so kind of bad luck, but we play on. So going to pass it back to Tim for now. Here, Tim, I think, has drawn Maze of Ith, which is a pretty good counter to this Pile Driver. And I realized last turn, I realized now, seeing this now, I could have attacked with Pile Driver, which couldn't have been blocked by Psychotalk, so I think I missed some damage there, which is unfortunate, but nonetheless, we continue here. So Maze of Ith, pretty good counter to this Pile Driver, which I'm kind of trying to figure out how to navigate this game to get in a place where I can kind of swing out with an unblockable, so to speak, Pile Driver here. So there's a land destruction spell here, which I'm gonna take the opportunity to activate my Mishra's Factory, ping him for 1, and get the untap effect. So just get kind of some value out of that spell. I also took 2 damage from that spell, I believe, so I'm down a couple more life points. So I have 2 cards in hand. I'm trying to figure out what to do here. I'm trying to, again, navigate this game in a way that allows me to kind of close things off with this Pro Blue. And here I draw like probably one of the best draws in the deck, Goblin Recruiter. So I'm going to speed things up here, and we're going to get a huge pile of goblins here. But most relevant, we're going to get the Goblin Settler, which can blow up that Maze of Ith, which is going to be an important component to winning this game. So let me speed this up. So here I've cut to the deck being shuffled and revealing the goblins that I have on top. Like I said, I think probably the most relevant one is that Goblin Settler to blow up the land. Handful of other good ones in there, obviously, as well. Goblin King among them. I've used up actually a lot of the all-star kind of things that I would normally get, like Siege Gang, and even War Chief I don't have access to now since it's in my graveyard. So, but definitely looking to get rid of that land and kind of start to close things out here, hopefully. So I am going to go ahead and attack for 1, and I'm going to force him to use that maze to kind of just keep him honest there. So the other thing worth noting, I think I'm holding a Price of Progress in hand here. So I've been holding it most of the game, kind of hoping, this is where like Tim being stuck on lands has actually kind of hurt me here. So he only has 2 non-basics. And he's going to cycle that creature there and seal of removal there. And I'm going to go ahead and fire off the Price of Progress. I kind of want to try to finish this off, and I'm thinking I have the numbers here. So he's going to take 6 damage here with the maze, conveniently adding 2 more damage there. And I'm going to draw. I'm drawing the Goblin Settler, so this is the goblin that blows up land. I'm going to go ahead and play that. And I think at this point I'm just kind of doing the math, making sure that I've got everything in place. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play that. Blow up the land. And then swing with the team, everything but the there. So that's going to get 6. And I think with the Sharpshooter, that's enough damage to kind of finish off the game. So and maybe even the pile driver is 7 damage in and of itself. So I'll take game 1. All right, here we are drawing our 7s for game 2. I think we have resolved. Maybe we both have kept 7 here. I'm not sure if we're resolving a mulligan here or not. But I know that I have an okay hand. A little shorter on the curve, a little fewer all-stars on the docket. Yeah, here Tim is mulliganing down to 6, so he did take a mulligan. I think I kept a 7, and he's got a pretty fast start here with the Spiketail Hatchling off of Factory and Mock Sapphire. So pretty good start here, blistering fast, and forcing me to kind of slow down because obviously he can counter kind of my play. So I'm just going to play this tapped land here and pass back. So here I'm expecting to get hit for 3, which is pretty good on turn 2. Tim's going to go grab I think probably Underground Sea, but not sure. And yeah, he's going to go ahead and hit. Go grab his land. Now he is down to 2 cards in hand. He's actually just going to get a basic swamp, which I guess makes sense with price and Blood Moon effects and things like that. He's already got mock, so he's good on colors, and yeah, has really kind of launched out his hand for this game. So definitely a faster start. So here I'm going to play around Spiketail. I've got a Mog Fanatic, good old reliable. Obviously, you can take care of Spiketail when I'm ready. But I'm also going to just try to see if he's interested in countering this other goblin, which is sort of like the portal version of Mog Fanatic, and here I'm explaining it. Firestarter, Goblin Firestarter, I think is the name. This is a weird one because it can only be activated on your turn before you attack, unlike Mog Fanatic, which can be activated at any point. But yeah, here I pass. Tim's going to take his turn and draw his card. And he's going to go ahead and try to get in for one. I'm not really interested in using Mog Fanatic yet. I think there's still more value. Probably would use the Firestarter, and I think I do eventually decide to do that later in the game, but just trying to be patient. Tim's going to cycle his artifact there, I think adding a blue mana. Looking for some other cards to add. So there's Underground River, and he's going to use that floating blue. 2 more mana to cast this Rot Priest, I think is the name. It's a cleric that makes the 2/2 zombie when it dies, which is pretty annoying, right? So again, like, kind of being able to create bodies that muck up the battlefield is pretty annoying. And obviously I have 2 1/1s here. Aren't the best. Playing another mountain here. Again, just trying to be patient. Here comes Pile Driver again. One of the few non-old border cards that I have. I might have to pick up an old frame one at some point, but yeah, it's here. And again, not much going on, so just kind of trying to be patient. Don't want to run in my spells into that Spike Tail, and yeah, just trying to be patient. Which, as the red deck, is definitely a little awkward. But like I said, as I've learned playing goblins, you know, you don't have to be blistering fast. You can kind of figure out how to use these little synergies to kind of take over the board and find your spot to kind of go in. In this game, I actually am holding that coat of arms that I alluded to earlier. And so one of the things I'm trying to do also is just be really conservative with my bodies, because obviously if that can resolve, there's a lot of value to be had in having as many goblins as possible. And here, Festering Goblin comes down, which is another way of, you know, kind of taking out a creature potentially. I have a lot of 1/1s or X1 creatures, and pretty good value there. So board feeling pretty good, and pretty good for Tim, I think. And I'm definitely a little worried about this kind of more aggressive slant. You know, he's coming in, and I'm choosing to go ahead and utilize the Firestarter there to take out the Spike Tail. I don't want my 4 mana spell to get blown up here. And again, there's Goblin Settler. Just explaining the interaction with Firestarter, and using that to blow up the factory. So one of the threats down, so that's good. But still, just want to be patient. Don't really feel the need to just you know, run Pile Driver into Festering Goblin or anything like that. So Tim running a little low on gas as well. I think we're both kind of at minimal resources here. But 2 cards in hand. Still, you know, just have a bunch of 1/1s here, mostly in a Pile Driver, which is good, but needs some help to really get scary. So, but like I said, I got this coat of arms. I'm kind of trying to angle the game in such a way that it really becomes pretty strong here. So I think I'm stuck on 4 mana here, which is why I can't just deploy this coat of arms right away and turn these bodies into pretty huge bodies. Although we realized later on that Festering Goblin actually gets buffed by coat of arms. So yeah, and here I realize I need to grab my charger before my computer dies. But here I've cut the video back in, and I draw this. What is it? Goblin Lookout, I think is the name. It's a 2 mana 1/2, and it has an activated ability. You can sack a goblin to give your team +2/+0. So I'm actually kind of hoping that Tim gets a little worried about this creature in particular, if he does have kind of got a removal spell. I don't want him to hit the Pile Driver. That's definitely where I'm trying to kind of navigate this game to win again in kind of a pretty huge chunk. And want him to be more worried about the kind of Anthem effect on that goblin. So I'm going to go ahead and port his land and upkeep. And he's asking about lands and what I have. Here, I feel like he probably has some form of removal. And he's going to kind of continue to come in. I'm at a pretty low life total, about 9 here before this attack. So he's been able to whittle down my life. Again, no blocks. I'm trying to really maintain this board because if I can get this coat of arms down, it's going to be pretty big bodies on my side in comparison. I think it's going to be tough for Tim to kind of overcome. So, and if I'm lucky here, I might be able to navigate the game in such a way that it's kind of a one-hit KO. So definitely eyeing that up. I'm curious what he's got in hand. As it turns out, I believe our old friend, the Faceless Butcher, is coming back down. So here, Tim has a decision. He's got to take a point of damage from that. So we're still at a pretty healthy 18. He's got 1 card in hand. And here he's trying to decide what to take. I think he's kind of talking it out, which one he wants. And ultimately, I believe he decides to take the lookout there. So I'm pretty happy to see that because, like I said, I think I have a way to deal with that butcher and the coat of arms that I'm trying to kind of navigate the game towards. So I think here I'm drawing my card. I'm looking at what I have and trying to figure out like when to deploy what and when. And so I'm doing some math here, and this might be okay. Yeah, so I'm pitching this pyrokinesis, which is pretty good, and I'm going all at the butcher. And in retrospect, maybe I should have sequenced this differently, but I'm gonna go ahead and play the coat of arms now. Here we're talking about coat of arms. And again, what we realize later on is it's a symmetrical effect, and it counts all creatures on the battlefield. So actually, the Festering Goblin is buffing my team as well as the Festering Goblin. But so here we actually have got all but 2 damage. But actually, what we realize is the game's over. I have actually, because of Festering Goblin, my guys have enough power. So it's actually kind of a 18 points of damage out of nowhere kind of effect with coat of arms, which was pretty crazy. But here we haven't realized it yet. Tim's still kind of deciding if he can move on or not. But either way, you know how we played it and how it actually works. What we realized, the game's pretty much functionally over. So here he's showing me what is that? Bane of Living, his morph card, and gives me the virtual handshake. So that's it. I won the finals 2-0 with Goblins. Want to thank Tim for the great match and the rematch here, and everyone involved in the Old Frame Highlander community. If you're interested, please join us in the Discord. It's linked in the video description below. And yeah, until next time, I've been Justin, and appreciate everyone watching. Thanks.